Thank you. I'm so excited to talk about this today. So a little bit about me first. I've worked as a developer on VS Code for about 2.5 years, and I started by working on the terminal for about 2 years, and then I inherited tasks, and most recently, I've been so excited about working on accessibility, so have been at that for several months. I've also worked on 2 extensions, the template string converter and the candy color theme. Speaking of candy, I make vegan, sugar-free chocolates, and I love to hike, bike, swim, and run. And this is an image from Granite Mountain, one of my very favorite hikes. So here is VS Code Insiders, where the bulk of my workday is spent. And here I start debugging, and a new VS Code window opens with the changes that I've made. And we call this self-hosting, which means I use the VS Code of today to develop the VS Code of tomorrow. And as a result of self-hosting, our team creates most of the issues, whether bug reports or feature requests, on our repository. An exception to this is in accessibility, since we have no developers on the team that self-host with screen readers. And screen reader users have a wide range of disabilities, including motor challenges, low vision, visual impairment, blindness, and more. And because of this lack of self-hosting, we rely heavily on our insightful contributions from the community. I meet weekly with Ju Young, a blind screen reader user and tremendous contributor to VS Code, and it's usually the highlight of my week. He demonstrates bugs, we discuss potential solutions, and he tests out recent improvements we've made. And I believe that if every developer were to meet with Ju Young and to see and hear how he experiences the product, they'd be just as motivated as I am to improve accessibility in their app. So let's make that happen.
Hello. My name is Jiyoung Seo. I'm an assistant professor in the School of Information Sciences at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. Today, I'm going to demonstrate how I use Visual Studio Code's recent update on terminal accessibility and inline suggestion. For this demonstration, I'm going to use a screen reader called Job Access with Speech, JAWS. And I'm going to use Windows 11. All right, I'm going to share my screen with the sound.
Administrator, C, Windows System 32C. Screen sharing meeting controls. Start the app by Visual Studio Code inside.
All right. I need to make sure whether my screen reader setting is enabled. So I can do that by pressing Alt F1 here.
Accessibility help dialog. Thank you for trying out for this code's accessibility.
And pressing Control E, echo.
Now changing the setting editor. Accessibility support to on.
Okay. So now I hear my accessibility setting is turned on.
Yeah.
And I need to enable screen reader announcement for inline suggestion. I'm going to press Control comma to open search settings. And I'm going to type inline screen reader and arrow down.
Settings preview, selected application control, editor screen reader announce inline suggestion, modify, control.
And there is screen reader announcement for inline suggestion. I have already enabled this.
Editor screen reader announce inline suggestion checkbox.
By default, this is turned off, but I need to turn this on.
df.py editor.
All right. Let me make a very simple example here, hello world. So I'm going to type print. So as I type, I hear audio cue that indicates there is available inline suggestion, but I don't want to accept that. So I keep typing here.
Start values, object, print value, sep equals, n equals, n, file equals, size.
Yes. So it suggests hello world. I'm going to accept this by pressing tab. And I'm going to create a new Python terminal.
Test Visual Studio Code Insiders Administrator document. Warning, activation of the selected Python environment. Listbox, df.py, unsaved changes. Print hello world.
And I'm going to send this code to terminal.
Terminal 1, REPL use all plus F1 terminal accessibility help edit. Editor content edit. Contain. Hello world.
So now I can navigate this terminal output using up and down and left and right arrow key, because the terminal output is displayed within Monaco editor. And the Monaco editor provides very accessible model for screen reader standard navigation.
Warning, PowerShell.
So
Terminal 1, REPL use all plus one terminal accessibility.
if I press tab key, I can move to terminal input area. I'm going to type 1 plus 2 and hit enter.
3.
And I hear 3 because it is alerted through ARIA Live. And if I want to double check my output again, I can press Shift tab here.
Editor content edit. Contains text.
And I hear editor content. That means my focus is now in Monaco editor of terminal output. Here I will press up and down arrow key.
3.
So I press the up key here and I hear 3. And I can navigate this character by pressing left or right arrow key.
Blank.
So if I press right arrow key here,
3.
I hear 3. If I press left arrow,
Blank 2 plus 1. Space. Greater.
Yes, my cursor moves along with the character. And this
Space
is
1 plus
the
2.
command that I executed. All right, this is a Python REPL. And what about the integrated shell terminal? So I'm going to create a new integrated shell.
Terminal 2 use all plus one terminal accessibility help edit.
I press Control
Warning, PowerShell detected
Control back design. And now my
Warning,
focus
PowerShell detected
is in new integrated shell input. I'm going to type echo hello.
Hello base PLC, word test.
And I hear the output. I'm going to type echo world, enter.
Role base PLC, word test.
I'm going to execute one more command, ls, enter.
Directory C, word test mode last right time link name /2023/2023.
Okay, so this is very cool because I can navigate command by command in the terminal output area. I'm going to demonstrate this. So I will press Shift tab to move to terminal output area.
Editor content edit. Contains text.
And I can view a list of commands that I have just executed by pressing Ctrl Shift O.
Type the narrow down results. List box. LS 1 of 3. 3 results.
So here I hear ls,
Echo world 2 of 3.
echo world,
Echo hello 3 of 3.
echo hello. So if I hit enter on echo hello, my focus will move there.
Editor content edit. Contains text. Base PLC, word test echo hello.
Yes. So my focus is now in echo hello. So if I move down,
Hello. Base PLC.
yes, I see the executed command. I can also press Control Up or Control Down key to quickly move between executed command. So if I press Control Down
Hello.
here,
Base PLC, word test echo world.
so I hear my command prompt along with the command that I executed. And if I press Control Down again,
Base PLC, word test LS.
my focus moves to the next command, which is ls.
Base PLC,
And
word test
if
echo
I
hello.
press Control Up arrow,
Base PLC, word test echo hello.
yes, it moved to the previous command. All right. I also want to more demonstrate Copilot.
Editor content edit. Contains text. Python March 9, 2016 main, January 11. Read. Print hello world.
So
Print hello world. Blank.
let me create very simple matplotlib and Seaborn graph here. I want to create
SPD. Import numpy as MP. Import matplotlib.python as PLT.
I'm just accepting
Import Seaborn as SNS.
whatever Copilot suggests. You may hear this audio cue and auto announcement and I can quickly accept that by pressing tab key. This is very similar to what other sighted developers do.
Blank. Import sequence SNS blank.
I'm going to import one more Pi data set.
Import sequence SNS. Import data set. Blank.
And I'm going to create a count plot.
Number. Space C.
Create a count
Blank.
plot
T. Blank.
of class in MPG data.
Set. SNS count data equals MPG X equals class.
Yes. So I just suggested a comment here, and Copilot suggested back the complete code, and I just accepted the inline suggestion by pressing tab key here.
Create output of class in SNS count data equals MPG X equals class. Made for formatting edits between.
And I have just pressed Alt-Shift-F to reformat this Python document. I'm using black formatter and going to press Ctrl-S to resave. I want to execute the whole code in this file, and I just press Ctrl-A, going to press Shift-Tab to execute this.
Terminal 1, REPL use all plus F1 terminal accessibility help edit. Python March 9.
All right.
Python March 9 2016. January. Python March 9 2016.
Now my focus is in
Python March 9 2016.
the output editor, terminal output area.
Active user tab. Problems. Terminal 1, REPL use all plus F1 terminal accessibility help edit.
If I press Shift tab here,
Editor content edit. Contains text.
yes, I hear editor content, then I can use standard arrow key here.
Name MPG is not defined. Function line 1.
So now I hear error. Name MPG is not defined. Yes, because I have not created MPG variable yet. So I can interactively hear the error sound here. I can go back.
Blank. SNS output. Create output of class in M.
Of course, I can use Ctrl-Shift-M here.
Showing 6 problems. Preview. Error. Pandas PD imported but unused line 1 and character generated by Flake 8. 1. Selected application
And
control.
this
Error.
is
PSMP
the
imported
error
by used line 2
message I hear without having to go to the terminal. Of course, these are sort of cosmetic errors provided by Flake 8, the linter. And here I can find undefined name error for MPG. So here I need to define MPG equals. Yes, so I hear this suggestion, going to accept and re-execute. And let's see, I'm going to see if there is any error other than the cosmetic linting errors.
Selected application control. Error. Undefined name MPG line 8 and selected application control. Error. Undefined name MPG line 8 and character generated by Flake 8. Off. Error. Undefined name MPG line 8 and character generated. DF.Pilot.
So I hear undefined error, but I think that because I haven't saved this, so I'm going to press Ctrl-S.
Showing 3 problems. Preview. Error. MP error. Matplotlib.pilot is PLT imported but unused line 3
Yes.
0.
So it's gone.
Showing 3 problems. Preview application control. DF.Pilot.
So I'm going to re-execute this line. And I'm going to quickly move to terminal output. Yes, it has been successfully executed, and I hear some access information here. Okay, this was a quick demo of how I have been using VS Code's recent accessibility improvement. I really appreciate VS Code accessibility team's awesome support. Megan, Isidore, everyone, you're the accessibility champions, and also VS Code developers, you are game changers. Thank you so much for making this cool and accessible technology.
So something worth noting is while demonstrating the features that Ju Young and I have collaborated on recently, his screen reader rate of speech was slowed down by 10 times, just so that the audience could actually understand it. So listening to a screen reader requires a large amount of focus and significantly increases the cognitive load or the amount of mental energy required to operate an app. And users need to pay attention as the text is spoken so that they can figure out what's on the page, what is of interest, and whether an element is even actionable. And unlike visual web pages, screen readers present information in strict sequential order. So users must patiently wait and listen to the description until they come across something of interest. They cannot directly select the most promising or interesting element without first attending to the ones that precede it. So some of the ways that we reduce cognitive load are by using audio cues instead of text content and by ordering text content wisely. So using audio cues can reduce the cognitive burden by relaying meaning very quickly without using text. So for example, what you'll see here is when a task completes, we play an audio cue rather than alerting with a verbal message. And this is an example of a feature designed for accessibility, but that really benefits everyone. For example, imagine you start a long-running build task, close the panel to edit some code or sip coffee, and take a break and begin debugging when you hear the build finishes and whether or not it had errors. Trying to play. There we go. Okay. So I make a change here, and then the task completes, and there are no errors, so it completes with an audio cue that indicates that. As for an example about the importance of content order, we focus the problems view and navigate up and down the list. Okay, so you can see in this screenshot that it indicates that the error is generated by TypeScript, and then it talks about the error in great detail. So the user in that case would have to wait and hear the source before actually hearing the specific error. And after a small tweak, the screen reader user can navigate the problems list again, but this time we state the error before the source of the error because that's more important. And this, though a small tweak just from a development standpoint, can lead to dramatic improvements in efficiency for screen reader users. So some important practices we think about are discoverability of accessibility features, how navigation to or from a component will occur, testing to ensure accessibility, and guidelines for developers. So that users can benefit from the functionality we have worked hard to implement, it needs to be put where it is relevant. So for example, when I focus the terminal, the screen reader reads how to access the terminal accessibility help menu. Even if things are keyboard accessible, it might require a lot of effort to go between them, which will cause a user to lose context in the process. And one example where we address this is when there's a notification, you can accept it without navigating away from your current context using only a key binding. So with my focus in the editor, you should be able to see yeah, with my focus in the editor, I get a notification and accept it, then return to typing, which is very handy so the context is not lost. So every iteration, we create a test plan item for each of the platforms, Mac, Linux, and Windows. And typically, as I mentioned earlier, we have no one on our team that self-hosts using a screen reader. But as such, we've recently adopted a practice where we create a test plan item for features which will test the screen reader experience on each platform. I've also recently been self-hosting as I noticed what could be improved much more readily that way. So guidelines ensure that developers know what is expected, and we recently added them to our wiki. So they spell out things like what we expect for widgets, color contrast, keyboard navigation, and more. And color contrast ratio is super important for users with low vision, for example. And all of our high contrast themes adhere to a strict 4.5:1 ratio, and the others must be at least 3:1. And also our integrated terminal mandates 4.5:1. We expect every actionable element to be keyboard navigable. Here I set the tab moves focus mode, and then I'm able to tab completely around the workbench, which is very handy. And if there are too many tab stops for your liking, you can also use the command focus next part, or F6, which lets you jump from part to part very quickly. And that is all I had. Are there questions?
Thank you so much, Megan. It's always so important that we are putting accessibility into everything we do. So I love that you're able to show us some of the features that we're always putting forefront in the development for VS Code. And with that, we do have a couple of questions. So first, how can I see all settings that are related to accessibility?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I can maybe share my screen and show this.
We had a bunch of sweet features and some sweets in front. And you showed off your baking skills. And we have, these aren't your cookies. We have another baker on our team, Joyce. And we'll join into some more sweet features.
Okay, so I'm doing Command, comma here to enter the settings editor. And then I just type @ and then you see this propagates or populates tag accessibility. And there you have all of the settings that we believe impact accessibility. So it's super convenient.
That's so good to know. So one other question we have in the chat, can you tell us a little bit more about one thing that you're working on right now?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. Like I was talking about before, and I can demo this here, when I move my focus from some other element into the terminal, and I have this verbosity setting set, you will see once VoiceOver catches up, it can take a minute to start working. Come on, VoiceOver, you can do it. Maybe if I open an editor. Okay, I see this little box which should indicate it's working. VoiceOver is not working at the moment. But basically, screen reader users really benefit from these hints in the ARIA label, which are a way for them to discover how to either operate an element or a feature or access help to understand something. But we have power screen reader users like Ju Young who don't need to hear that information. So imagine you're using a screen reader, and every day you click in the terminal and here's how you access accessibility help. That is redundant. So we want to minimize that. And so these verbosity settings in starting now and going forward will reduce that redundancy and just improve things for our power users while keeping that hint there for users that will benefit from it.
Thanks so much for the live demo. Live demos are so tough.
There's always demo gods.
Right?
Yeah.
I appreciate you jumping into those questions with us. But if I was someone who wanted to just get started with making my product more accessible, do you have some advice or tips for me on getting started?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think looking at documents like our wiki would be an awesome place to start because the community really says we have developed some great accessibility features in the product. And so I think just asking what works in other products without trying to reinvent the wheel is a great place to start. And then working directly with screen reader users has benefited me tremendously. And I would say that's really our key, is leaning on them for their insights and ideas and collaborating with them, because I've learned pretty much everything from Ju Young and others.
Awesome.
Absolutely. I think that's such a good call out to make sure that you are partnering with members of those community to make sure that you are giving the best possible experience. So thank you, Megan, so much for, one, all the work that you've done with this to help make VS Code as accessible as possible. And then also just thank you so much for this presentation. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been awesome to show this stuff.
Absolutely.